Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Happy Pianist talk show again. So I'm Marc from Happy Pianist, and today I'm very happy to welcome back our favorite teacher from last week Facebook live show back to our channel again, and he's also Mr. Marc Yo. So today we have both Marcs and two Marcs here to share with you more about music learning. Our show is going to start about 8:30, about a few more minutes. So we have still some time for some quick warm up. So let me say hi to Marc. Hello, Marc. Hello.
Hi, Marc. It's nice to see you again.
Okay, great to see you again. I hope you had dinner already.
Yeah, I had a really good dinner.
Okay, so
I still think it's a little strange, like calling another person Marc. I have very few friends who are named Marc. The most is Marcus. So I still find it weird, like I'm calling myself.
Yeah, you're talking to the mirror right now. So you're talking to me and yourself.
I'm talking to a more handsome version of myself.
Yeah. So today's topic is a requested, heavily requested from our participants for last week Facebook Live. So it's about how to practice effectively. So today's session is kind of a bit different. Instead of just presenting and sharing with you, so we also got Marc, our teacher, to do a live demonstration for you on his keyboard to show you how to practice, how to read the scores, how to do markings, what should you write, what should you look out for. So it's kind of a real life practice, a showcase of how you should work on your practice session right at home. So for this part, later on we'll be turning to the keyboard. So for yourself, looking at the Facebook Live, you may not need a keyboard, don't worry. Okay, you don't need to like move yourself to the piano beside you. Doesn't matter. You just come and learn, observe how is it done. Later on, you can come back to watch the recording, or you want the notes, we'll be sending out in the Telegram chat. Then you can refer back, and then you can start your own practice session that way. Okay.
For those of you who have been very eagle-eyed, you probably noticed the background a little different today. What I have here is my keyboard. If you want to see what it looks like, it's a full-sized keyboard, and it's actually a Roland RD800 performance keyboard. So this is one of my favorite babies, and this has gotten me through very, very tough times, especially with this whole COVID situation. So just to share with you, I actually use this keyboard to perform my final recital for my master's program. So it's a big step down from a full Steinway Grand, unfortunately, but I'm extremely glad and relieved that I managed to use. I had access to a keyboard at least when I was forced to come back home early before I graduated. And honestly, I'm really sorry about it, Marc. Like I have I don't think I told you this before. Like I had to come home early, right? And the thing is, the music school bought a new Steinway D, a full 9-foot Steinway D for the spring semester, and I did not manage to try it. I was so close to trying it. The recital would have been the first time playing on the brand new piano, but like everything closed, so I was forced to come back. So it's unfortunate.
So let's say nothing happens, everything is normal. You'll be performing on the Steinway piano for your graduation performance. Am I right?
Yes, that's right. That would have been I would have invited people over to watch, and I was actually planning to try out live streaming the recital, even though I think it would have probably been like 4 a.m. here or something like that. But at least, people can still watch the video after the live show has ended, right? So that was the plan, but no one expected saw this coming.
All right. Okay, so we are about 2 more minutes. Oh, we are 2 minutes to 8:30. Very good. Okay, so if you are streaming in right now, today's topic will be talking about how to practice effectively. So practicing is part and parcel of being a musician. All teachers, all students, we know something called practice. We don't say we love to practice. We all need to practice, correct or not? Okay, we may not like it, but we all know we need to practice. But how to practice correctly, effectively, in a way that you really use your time well, that you practice well, that will be helpful to you. It's not about sitting down in front of a piano and play 10 hours a day. Does it work that way? May not be lah. Okay, so today we have Marc here to share with you how to use your time effectively so you achieve more while practicing. So let me give a quick introduction of ourselves first. So I'm Marc from the Happy Pianist. So Happy Pianist does is we are a platform of piano teachers and piano students. And so what we do here is match piano students to piano teachers and kickstart lessons with them. So we have been doing this coming for, I think, for the 6th year already. So for myself, I've been working with Marc since I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years back. I think back then you still have
since 2016.
Since 16, okay. Back then I think you have not got your masters. So now I must call you masters Marc already. So a bit
still a normal guy.
Okay. So Marc is also our teacher. It's a full-time piano teacher. So he recently graduated from the University of Illinois.
Yeah.
And masters in piano performance. And he also previously a MOE teacher teaching English and music in government schools. So today, he will be sharing with you how to practice effectively. So let me bring on the screen right now. Correct. Okay. So if you are joining us, okay, take a seat. So this session will be about 1 hour plus, 1 hour or so. So you have any questions about practicing, if you are stressful or you find that your practice is not effective, just key your questions into the chat box later on, and we'll read your questions and bring out for Marc to answer for you. So to kickstart this session, can we do a quick test now, just to make sure that the audio and the sound and the video are all working? So
okay, so
very simply, can you just
a little
from? Okay. Yeah, so I need to do a quick check lah. Okay, so Marc, you are in Ang Mo Kio, right?
Yes.
Okay, Ang Mo Kio. So if you're like Marc, Ang Mo Kio, type Ang Mo Kio. If you are watching from overseas, I know Marc has many overseas friends. Okay, in US, in Europe, Russian friends. Okay, wherever you are, you just type in where you are from. So with that, we know that you are, everything is working well for you. Okay, so of course
my
now,
US friends will be sleeping at this point.
Again?
I think my US friends will be sleeping now. So
US, I think now US maybe midnight, or rather early in the morning. Wow. So if you have friends in the morning, just to support you, not bad leh. Okay, now in Singapore nighttime, so maybe in the US is morning time. Okay, I know some people are watching from Singapore. Very good. Jenny is from, what time I mail you the way? I think from Clementi area. Okay, Apple, hello from Singapore. Okay, north side, east side, west side. I think everyone in Singapore. I'm hopefully that you're also at home. Okay, even though I know that circuit breaker over, we can all go out. Okay, but I went out lah. Okay, but NTUC only. So I believe Marc, you also went out a few times just to have some fresh air.
Yep. As much as I love staying home, I still have to go out sometime to get some food.
Very good, very good. Okay, since that people are responding, very good. So I believe that you can hear it quite clearly. Okay. So Marc, are you ready?
Yes, I am very, very ready. Okay, let me just key in this. Okay, yep, I'm good to go.
Okay, Marc is ready to go. All right. So today we will talk about this topic, how to practice effectively. So Marc will be sharing 5 steps that you already know. Know that means you are doing already, and then 5 more ideas to help you improve further. So something may be new, some things you may not heard before, something you may heard before, doesn't matter. If you can, just learn as much as you can, and then see how you can implement it into your own practice schedule. So in a way that you can learn new stuff and also improve along the way. Okay, so Marc, over to you.
Thanks, Marc. Good evening, everybody. So however many people who are with us today, so thank you so much for joining us. I am glad that you have forsaken your Friday date nights, cocktail nights, and whatever plans you might have had just to join us and entertain yourselves with interesting information. So I'm glad to be able to do this, and honestly, I'm a little nervous because I have not played on a live video before. So this is the first time, and it's pretty exciting. So the topic that I'm choosing today is how to practice effectively, and I understand that this is a very, very, very common topic for almost every teacher. Every teacher would have said something to their student about how do you practice well, how you practice smartly. Okay, and there will be some points that you are probably familiar with, and there are even probably some points that you might be might be a bit controversial or not very suitable for you, but take it with a pinch of salt. And these are just some ideas you can try play around with. Okay. The thing is, I am catering this discussion to all kinds of musicians. So I actually changed the title from learning piano to learning music because I realized some of you guys in our audience last week, you all play other instruments, right? So
Mhm.
I don't discriminate in
Okay,
in
maybe
a
we
time
can
of.
do a maybe you can do a quick poll lah. Okay, so what instruments do you play? What instrument do you play? Okay, Marc is a pianist lah. So maybe you can just key in the chat box below. What instrument do you play? Okay, if you play piano, you just type in piano. It's okay. You're playing you're a singer. You type in vocal. Okay, you're a flute. Okay, you type in flute. Yeah. So I believe whatever instrument that you key in, Marc can maybe adjust a little bit about his sharing, and then can customize some of his session to address your instrument. Okay, but I
Okay,
believe
nice. You have flute.
most of the time we are all what do I mean? Most of the instruments you play, whatever instrument you play, I believe whatever Marc shared with you today is applicable. Am I right now?
I believe so. I mean, the exact technique of it might not be exactly the same, but the general idea, uh, and the general musical idea is probably similar. So we have flute, mostly piano. Okay, so if there's anyone who plays multiple instruments, raise your hands. I'm a self-proclaimed percussionist as well. I cannot
Wow,
hide this fact, or else there are people who will be annoyed at me for hiding this.
wow, not bad. Wow, piano is a percussionist. So whatever this, you love hitting things lah.
I I actually do not like hitting things. It's a long story. We can have a chit chat session one day and we can talk about
Okay,
this. So
good.
that's
Okay,
how
so from
a
the
strange story as to
responses,
how I got into this.
wow, interesting. Okay, we'll go on. Okay, so almost of them are piano and one flute. Apple, yeah, Apple. Nice to see you again. So okay, good. Most of the things you share, maybe I think will be very relevant to them. Okay, thank you so
Great.
much for responses. Right.
Hey, Jasper, triangle, don't lie. So we have a brass player
Good.
today. Okay, very good. Brass and piano. For record's sake, I think I play triangle better than you, Jasper. Okay, anyway, shall we begin? I think
Yeah, sure. Let's
we
go.
can start. So thank you for joining us again. So let's just start off with this. This is there's a lot of things to cover in today's discussion, and it was actually pretty difficult to condense it into like seven slides worth of content, but I tried my best. And if any of you need to just want to take down notes like studious students, feel free to do so, or if not, you could join the Happy Pianist Telegram chat to access the soft copy of this presentation, right? So the first thing I'm going to dive straight into is usually the first thing that I teach all of my students. Okay, so the fact that playing music is basically multitasking. Whenever you play any song, whether it's classical or pop or death metal on piano for some reason, Chinese songs, Korean songs, you are multitasking. All right. So most of the time, students like you and me a few years ago, we focus a lot on notes. We focus a lot on rhythm. We want to get all our fingering right. We want to get all our notes right. Okay. And then the next thing is probably dynamics. Dynamics is basically the volume of how loud you play or how soft you play. Okay. And the next items are a little bit more, I would say, advanced. It's something to think about once you get your notes settled. Okay. It's things like articulation. How how do you express your notes? Are they short? Are they long and smooth? Or are they jabby and forceful? Or is it heavy or light? There's many ways to express a note. Okay, how you phrase a line. Okay, do you connect it or do you make it similar to how a singer sings it? Okay, how you express all of this. Okay, and then perhaps the next two most challenging things to multitask on a piano would be your balance. Okay, a balance on a piano is basically how loud are some notes are as compared to other notes. Okay, you can have instances where your right hand is louder than your left hand, or there are some instances where your left hand takes the main tune, the main melody, and your right hand goes softer. Okay, this is actually a way harder skill to learn, and it takes time to get used to this psychomotor challenge. Okay, I think this is one of the biggest hurdles that my students have faced so far. And then the next one is tone. Tone is one of the biggest issues that I have been dealing with for the past 2 years of my studies. It's a very, very simple thing of how to make your sound nice. And it's not easy to do that. It takes a lot of feeling. It takes a lot of understanding how much force to use on the piano. And especially for us pianists, since most of us are piano players here, when you go for performances, it's a very annoying scenario because you can't bring your own piano most of the time. You have to perform on someone else's piano or a piano that belongs to a recital hall, for example. So, and when you change piano, you're not used to the one that you play at home. It's a different ball game altogether. So that's another topic for another day. But that's how you may have to deal with understanding tone, right? The next one is tempo. Okay, how fast you go, how slow you go. So you might want to practice at different speeds. Okay, and number 8 is I should have actually put number 8 as number 1 as the first thing. Posture. It's one of the basic things that people may tend to forget when they practice. I have seen some students who cross legs and practice the piano, cross leg on a chair, on the piano stool. It's quite a headache actually. So posture is actually a thing, and it's also important in other instruments as well. Okay, and the last point is more for specific points that other instruments might deal with. So bowing is basically how string players bow, how they hold the position of the bow on the right hand, and how much force they use on when they bow the string. Okay, vibrato applies to all instruments except the piano, unfortunately. Okay, how you vibrate the sound to make it sound nicer. Okay, embouchure is more for winds, woodwinds and brass players. How you form the shape of your mouth before you put the mouthpiece over your lips. Okay, the airspeed and the aperture size more for brass players. How fast do you want your airspeed to be will affect the sound that you get, okay, and how big the aperture of your mouth hole is when you're blowing through your instrument. So all these, okay, but this will be something for Apple. It's applicable for you because you're a flute player. So these are things that you want to take note of when you are practicing. There's so many things, and just listing this out alone it looks pretty daunting, but there's a way to get past this. Okay, so if you look at all these things, these nine points altogether, it's virtually impossible to pay attention to everything, to all the factors at the same time when you are practicing music. And most of the time, people overlook this thing, and when they practice, their mindset is basically, I want to get this to sound as best as I can. Generic idea, it must sound perfect. That's what a lot of students would like to do. So do I. Everybody wants to do that, okay, but we can't do that all the time, right? So if you're trying to focus on everything, you are most likely to mess up at least one or more. Okay, when you're focusing on something else messes up. Okay, so this is normal. It doesn't mean that you're a bad musician. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible player. Okay, it's normal. It's normal not to be able to multitask, right? So this first point is just to set the stage of this presentation that music is hard. Let's just face it. It's not easy to play a song well because of all these factors. Okay, so let's dive straight into what you probably know. Okay, for those of you who are piano teachers, you are probably nodding your head to yourself now. For those of you who are piano students or you're learning the piano, you might have heard some of these points. Okay, namely, practice slowly. Don't go at your actual speed. because you'll lose control. Okay, that's the first thing you usually hear from your teachers. Okay, the next thing is use a metronome to keep time. So what exactly is a metronome? It is a device, or it used to be a device that is that goes tick tock, and it sets the speed, okay, an annoying clicking speed for you to follow.
Do you have one?
Okay.
Do you have a metronome to show them, or later on?
I used to have a metronome. I used to. Okay, there are three types of metronomes. If any of you are new to the piano, the first one is, if you Google, okay, you'll probably see a triangular box with a stick that goes left and right, like a pendulum. Okay, so that is the old analog metronome. Okay, and how it's powered is that there's a spring that you wind at the side of the metronome to let the devices turn, the gears turn inside, and it uses the physics of a pendulum to swing. Right, and the second metronome, which is slightly more modern, is the digital one, which most students of the 90s and early 2000s were probably forced to buy by their teachers. And the last one, I mean, in today's, oh, you have a metronome, nice.
Yeah, so I brought in one lah. Okay, so for those who are not very sure how a metronome looks like, I think we can just show a quick one, okay? Okay, I think this is this is a very traditional metronome. Okay, I believe all our teachers or we used to learn last time, we all started from this. Why not?
Yes.
Over the years, I think Jenny also said there's an app.
Yeah. I mean, that's the third one. Nowadays, there's an app. You can just download any metronome app on the phone. Most of them are free. You just need to figure out how to use it. Yeah, I got story to share. This analog metronome, right? The old metronome was something that my teacher, my professor, forced me to use sometimes during his lessons with me, especially when he got annoyed with me for not sounding nice or being bad at some certain technique. He'll make me switch on the metronome on my own. The metronome will be on his piano, and then he'll ask me to just switch on to the tempo you think you want to play at. And I'll be forced to slowly adjust the thing. And then the most annoying thing about this metronome, right, is the thing about older analog instruments. Once there is wear and tear, sometimes the weights inside become a little bit lopsided.
Correct.
Maybe because the metronome dropped or something. I don't know. So every time he made me play using the metronome, I get very exasperated. But obviously I can't show it because he's my prof. So what happened, right, is that this metronome, well, the timing is slightly off. It's not exactly tak 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 tak. It's one of the sides is lopsided, so you get a very 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 subtle tak 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 tak. I mean, I'm saying it in a very obvious manner, but something along that line. So I would get very confused, and then if I play according to the metronome, I will sound wrong. But then if I play correctly and I don't follow the metronome, I also sound wrong because I'm not following the metronome. So it was honestly that was a big motivation to practice very hard, because I do not want to get to a point where he makes me use the metronome.
Purposely to embarrass you.
Maybe, I think so. Yeah. Up to this day. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, just moving on.
Okay.
So we will talk about the metronome later on. It's one of my points. Okay. And number 3, you probably hear this the most: practice with your hands separate. Do not play both hands together when you're learning your songs, because it's difficult. You don't have control. The learning pace will be very slow. Okay, so that's the most common one. And number 4, which I think is very, very important, don't run through the entire song or the entire piece. Break it up into shorter segments, maybe in 4 bars, maybe in 8 bars. Okay, perhaps maybe in multiple sections. Like if your song is 2 minutes long, break it up into 4 segments of 30 seconds, something. Stop at the end of the phrase or something like that. Right, that's very good advice. And the last one would be to have very efficient practice. Okay, so I will dwell into this later. I'll elaborate more on this. So the idea that playing for 5 minutes well is actually better than just running through mindlessly for 1 hour. And I strongly attest to that. Okay, as as a student in a music school, I was forced to put this to the test because I had to attend classes and I had to continue my practice as well. So there are some days where I have a 10-minute break. It's actually about half an hour or 1 hour, but I had to run some admin, run some errand, grab lunch. By the time I have to go for another class, I still have 10 minutes to spare. So what I'll do, because I don't have time to practice for the rest of the day, I'll run up to the practice room, okay, and then I will decide exactly which little segment of the piece I want to practice. And now I'll just do it for 10 minutes. And that's all. 10 minutes for practice for the day. It sounds like I'm almost breaking the law as a music student, but sometimes when you are so packed with things, with commitments, you have no choice. You have to still get it in. You have to still sound good.
Oh,
So
very
yeah,
good. That means 10 minutes work for a student working on his master's degree in music. So you see, it's not about the hours of practice, it's the efficiency in that few short minutes of practice. So this part, I believe later Mark will demonstrate for you. He also have a sample score to show you how to take notes, how to look out for parts to indicate and so help you in your practice. Okay?
yeah. But just a disclaimer, if you're a full-time music student, you cannot do 10-minute practice every day. It's not enough. You will not pass your music program. Okay, this is just in desperate times. Okay, so moving on. Okay, I now have 5 other ideas, okay, that can be adding on to the previous points about what you probably know. Okay, so the first idea, okay, and this applies to all levels. If you are totally greenhorn in the piano, you just started learning yesterday, this is for you as well. And even for the most professional of musicians out there, this is for you as well. Okay, write on your scores. There's no harm writing on your scores. Use a pencil, use a pen, doesn't matter. Okay, what you need to write, fingering of which finger to use, especially for piano players, for your notes. Okay, or sometimes you may have fingering changes that the score doesn't say, or the score fingering not good enough. You have a better one. Okay. Another example is to have dynamic changes. Sometimes most of the time, music doesn't show volume everywhere. If not, that's not music. That's just a rule book. Okay, so you might want to add in your own so that you can remember. At this point in time, when I play this, I need to get louder. I need to get softer. Okay, and any other reminders? I'll show you some examples later. Okay, but in general, the point is you will tend to write more fingering or dynamic markings earlier on when you're just learning your song or your piece. Okay, but as you progress along, you get better with your notes, your rhythms. Okay, just like what I showed you in the first slide just now. Okay, you'll start to write more high level things like expressions, musical expressions, and detailed articulation and phrasing as well. Okay, I'll show you the example later. Okay, so, and the last thing for this is that if you play slowly, I know some piano students will argue with me till the cows come home with this point because they refuse to look at the score. They like to look at their hands. If you play it slow enough, right, you can actually look at the score and be reminded of what you wrote. And being reminded of what you wrote is practice because you are developing a good habit. Okay, so I will tell you about playing slow later. Right, so here I will share this. Sorry, I better share this screen with you.
It's good. Okay. So you'll be sharing a music score, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so Mark has prepared a sample music piece and he will share with you how to take notes, how to draw your music score. So this is a digital, I think it's a software that allows you to feature your music score.
Oh, this is just a PDF, just a PDF document. Yeah, I'm changing to digital because I don't need to carry so many books for my lessons. That was why I switched to digital.
Not bad, safe environment as well. Okay,
Yeah.
do you mind make it bigger, like
Yes.
zoom in? Yeah.
Okay, so just to give you an example, can you see my mouse?
Okay. Okay, I think they can see. Okay, if you can see Marc's screen, you just type in can see. I can see. Okay, because he's going to use the mouse to draw and point out things on the screen to show you where to look up, what to write, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like people can see. Great.
Yeah.
This thing is basically I decided on a tempo marking on how fast I want to practice. This is the practice tempo between 110 to 132 beats per minute. Okay, so first thing, most of the time you will see things like be soft, don't go so loud. Okay, don't whack the note. Okay,
Do not jab.
do not jab. Apparently, I got scolding for this last time. But I didn't fake this through. Okay, like this was something that I learned 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. So all these instructions are real. Okay, so don't rush. Okay, the ones in red were actually written earlier when I was learning the piece. So this is an example of some fingering changes. 5-3, 5-3. I didn't like it, so I changed it to 1-3, 1-3 instead. Okay, get louder. These are dynamic markings. Okay, so this is an example of how you can write certain things in. More examples of fingering changes, cancellations. I don't like the fingering change. All right, so yeah, and if you look at the blue color ones and eventually the purple color ones, those are done later. So the score doesn't look so dull. So they contain maybe higher level things like roll the arm, don't accent this because yeah, that's bad. Sound like a cello, sound like a boat cello, things like that. When I look at the score and when I practice it, I'm reminded of this all the time. And when you're reminded, you get a good sound in your head. And when you get a good sound in your head, you get better. That's the point. Okay, so here's another example. This is a more extreme one. And because I used this for my recent final recital, I have very terrible advice, not terrible advice, I have very good advice here, although some of them are pretty harsh. Longer trill, too slow, trill faster with all caps because like I kept repeating the same mistakes. Rehearsal tempo, okay, and certain things that I need to remember to get my head straight before I even start the piece. These are some examples. Use the shoulder, don't break this part. Suddenly loud. Okay, so these are some examples, right? So if any of you have certain comments or things, experiences that your teacher forced you to write certain things or questions about writing, do feel free to write in the comments as well. I know not everybody uses digital scores, so by all means use pencil on your own hard copy. If not, just get color pencils, it's fine.
Okay, I got a question. I think this question can be quite common. Sometimes when you teach, right, you write as a teacher, you write the notes for your students, emphasize on this and that. Sometimes you do a change of fingering. Then sometimes the students like to rely on the numbers to play the notes. So end up when they go home, they write the notes with all the numbers. you know what I mean? That means the whole music score is numbers or something that they can relate. So they look at the numbers and play the music. Okay. Don't feel guilty lah. Okay. If any teachers or any students doing this, I think it's very common. Sometimes we want to be faster. So since we can read numbers faster, so I write everything numbers, and then I just read the numbers and play the piece lah. But also means once you remove the numbers then it's like back to square one. They can't they struggle to read the notes again. So what's your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I have not had a student like that, but I had a similar situation where one of my students, I found out because this particular student likes to voice his or her thoughts. So I actually heard him or her singing numbers before. So she say out or sing the numbers. Then I was like, but she didn't write all the numbers down, or he didn't write all the numbers down in the score. But I think it's similar to what you're saying. My advice is don't do that. I don't really recommend it because I don't think numbers is a reliable system. Okay, because once you get to a higher level, when you need to change fingering so many times, how are you? Okay, just a simple example. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is your fingering, right?
Yeah.
Not all the time you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and maybe turn one time. Sometimes you have to turn so many times, right, that the number just doesn't make sense anymore. It just looks like some chain of random code. So as you get to a high level, you will start to find that it's going to be very uncomfortable to understand your numbers. So do not memorize my numbers. I don't recommend it. It's either memorize by notes or come up with some other system like the solfege system.
Very good. So for taking notes, it's more of the parts that you really need to take note of, and for that specific part only, right? Can you say that?
It really depends. Now that because I play more often than last time, because I was so busy teaching last time, I feel that I don't only write for this instant. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but if I write this down, right? Like take for example this piece. This is something that I learned 1.5 years ago. I performed this once, but as an example, if I actually relearn this piece again now, I would have forgotten a lot of it and I have to relearn it. And all these markings, right, actually help me get back on track much faster. Yeah. As compared to if I leave a score blank, right, I can tell you firsthand experience because I tried to relearn scores which were blank. I totally don't know what I did. I asked myself, like, oh my gosh, what did I do the last time when I played this difficult part? I have no recollection of it. I don't know what kind of weird fingering I used because it's somehow not working now. It's happened to me before. So, yeah, unnecessary stress that I added to myself. So, that's why I put this as idea number 1 because it's easy to do and it will pay off, especially like once you are sick of it, sick of this song, but 2 years down the road, you want to play again, but you want to play even better. You want to play it because you're a more mature musician now. That will happen to you most likely. So that's writing all of these seemingly annoying things down will help you in the long run. That's why.
Okay, so to do a quick summary is to write down the important points on your playing and not so much on every note that you see on the music sheet.
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. Thanks for sharing your music score. Okay, let's come back to, I got some questions. Like Jenny said that the teacher don't allow writing of notes. She like us to sight read. Very good, you got a good teacher. Okay, get you to sight read. They not ask you to write every note. And where Ying Yi say that she started writing fingering on every note in every piece she played. Okay, maybe if you are at the starting phrase, then maybe it could be helpful. But I think along the way, it's good to transit out of writing all the fingerings on every note. That'll be more helpful.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, let's address this. For Jenny, your teacher doesn't allow that. She likes you to sight read. Great. I think you have a teacher who emphasizes a lot on sight reading. That's great. However, it depends on what you're playing. The thing is, right, if you are learning a song, right, they are going to be practicing for your teacher every week. Technically, that's not sight reading anymore, right? So, I mean, there's muscle memory involved already. If you're playing something for the second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th time for your teacher, that's not really sight reading anymore. So, yeah. But if you talk about new pieces, the first time you play, yeah, sight read. Maybe second time you play, yeah, okay, get better at the sight reading. Okay, but beyond third, fourth time, I think it's something that you are developing the muscle memory already. So, yeah. So it depends on how your teacher is delivering whatever song or piece that he or she is delivering. Yeah, I hope that answers it. And recently started writing fingering on every note. I think that's okay. When you first start off, maybe OCD, you want to write everything, that's fine. Okay, I'm somebody who likes that kind of completeness as well. But after a while, you realize that, well, at least for me, I start to find that it's very time consuming. And like once the writing became a chore, and then once I wanted to start to write other things like dynamics, like phrasing, then the piece gets very, very, very messy. is unnecessarily cluttered. So I started to remove all the redundant kind of fingering. So perhaps that's, I don't know, you're going through a phase now. That's fine. I'm not saying it's wrong, but eventually, don't be afraid to evolve as a musician. You will always be evolving. You'll always be learning something new. Right. So next one? What happens when you go for exam and you need to erase your notes? Dire. Okay. So this
Do
is
you erase?
what.
I'm not sure. I never
Yeah, yeah,
erase.
yeah. I actually erase. I'm in the habit of erasing because when I was young, my teacher used to ask me to erase. Then just without question, I'll do that too.
Okay.
I think it's honestly, I don't think it's a a rule to erase your notes. It is just that if you have written so many things, right, and so much scribbles, and maybe one time you got so exasperated, you circle until the page got whole, that kind, right? Like you circle very furiously. It's very likely that your teacher may be afraid that the examiner may see your score, happen to look at your score and like think that, oh, you're not actually a very good player, but you have you went through so much problems. But honestly, I don't think it's a problem. There isn't a law at all. Honestly, I would rather have all those notes down. Whatever you notes. Okay, notes is a bad word. Writings or fingerings or whatever you want to jot down, it's fine. It really isn't a problem. Yeah. So
Good.
it's
That's
not really
for
against
idea
the law.
one.
Yeah. Sorry again.
Yeah, so that's for idea one on
Yeah.
writing down the markings on the score.
Yeah. All right. So write all or whatever you want. It's good. If you want to draw a nice piggy picture on the right, it's fine. Whatever works for you. If you want to decorate it, it's okay. As long as it motivates you and it's useful. Okay. Next, idea number 2. Okay, this is a slightly complicating one that will take some time. Focus on one or two factors when you're practicing a segment of a song or a piece. Okay, this applies to everybody. I tell this to my beginner students as well. Don't play the whole page, play 4 bars. So one or two factors, meaning that if I go back to this slide, these factors. Okay, don't focus on everything. Okay. So what would you want to focus on when you first start off? You typically want to get your notes correct. Okay, everybody would try to do that. That's fine. Okay, but however, I want to add on by saying, do not neglect the fingering. Okay, I believe this works for woodwind players as well, and violin players, string players, because if you keep practicing with different fingerings, alternate fingerings, you're not really practicing. You're developing muscle memory, and you are redeveloping muscle memory with a different set of instructions. Okay, so do not neglect fingering. If I'm learning a new piece, I will write the fingering down as early as I can. Once I know that, okay, this is suitable, I'll write it down. Slow. It's very annoying. The starting phase is very, very slow. You feel like you're not getting anywhere, but that's the way you want to build it ground up. Okay, rather than rush into it, learn it wrongly, have to relearn, waste time. I don't like that. I used to do that and I realized like a lot of my hours went into all these wasted practices. It's not nice. Okay, and the next thing, once you start to get the notes right, you want to get the rhythm right as well. Okay, without being affected by the notes. So what do I mean by this? Okay, I think this is the part where I will demonstrate. Okay, I will share screen with you.
Okay, so right now Mark is going to show you how to practice live. So for my side, I'll give you the entire full screen. That means you can still hear me, but you won't see my face. Okay, give me a while. Okay, Mark.
Yes.
Okay, so now they can see you completely. So
okay.
so you show them how to this and
Okay.
maybe, yeah, I think you need to adjust your Keyboard.
think
Okay, good.
I show the score better lah than show the score. I think people also see score bars. Okay, so
Yeah.
what I will do, I'm going to play a segment of whatever score I just showed you just now. Okay, I'll play it once through, so you know how it sounds like. Okay. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to sound like eventually, but you will never ever sound like this the first time you play. Okay, so when you first learn the piece, you are learning the notes. You're going to sound something like this. Get the idea? So more often than not, you probably sound like this. So really, really take your time with this. So use this time to get it right. Once you slowly figure out where the fingers want to go, this is coming down to here. Then it comes down to here. Nope, nope. This, go back. Figure out the fingering. Okay, I want to use this, write it down. Okay, you realize that you're not playing anything coherent now. That's normal. Okay, you want to get it right first. Okay, so that's the first step. Okay, the second step is to focus on the rhythm. Once you kind of, this level 2, once you kind of got the notes right, you want to make sure your head is hearing it right. Okay, so get the rhythm right first or second. So even if you make mistake, this time you focus on not stopping. Okay, and so on and so forth. You want to get the beat and the rhythm right. So internally you're getting the right feel. Okay, so notice step 1 and step 2 is really very different. The notes is really the building block, and the rhythm is more of the feeling of where the notes are placed against each other. So when I play rhythm, right, notice that I just ignore the wrong notes. I deliberately play a lot of wrong notes just now. So that's an example. Okay, so don't be affected by it. A lot of students, the moment they hear wrong notes, they freak out and then they will stop. And then they try again and then they stop. So in a sense, I feel that they are kind of denying themselves the chance of practicing rhythm, the chance of hearing the rhythm correctly. That's why I feel a lot of students that they struggle with rhythm more than they struggle with notes. Because us Singaporeans, we love to get notes correct. Like the content must be correct, that kind. All right. So focus on the rhythm second. And the third thing, once you start to get these things going already, you keep practicing, it's slowly starting to get better. Then look at the score again. Start to notice things like your dynamics, volume. Notice your articulation. Notice how you phrase the notes and expression. Okay. If you can, sing the line out. Okay. So for example, in this piece, okay, it sounds something like da, 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 da. You kind of drop. It's a line that's coming down. So it's almost like a sigh. Da, 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 da. So you want to get softer. Okay? If you want to really express it, you get softer. And then as you go on to the next phrase, da, 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 da. So you get a little bit louder as you climb up. It's kind of an instinctive thing if you think about expression. All right. So that's the next step. Okay. As you think about these little details, confirm it with your score. Sometimes the score has the information, sometimes it doesn't. You might want to write it in. Okay. So check with your teacher. Most of the time, I guess teachers are usually dictating it. But I think as students, especially if you're intermediate level, you might want to start listening out for these kinds of details as you get to a higher level, right? And the next thing, I'll go back to the slides later. I'll just read it out for you guys. As your notes and your rhythm and all your expression becomes more autopilot, okay, because by now you have developed a kind of a muscle memory, more or less, then this is where you start focusing on your tone and balance. Okay, so what I mean by tone and balance, when you first learn a piece, right, or a song, when you are focusing on notes or rhythm, you sound something like this. Something like that, right? Annoying, maybe from an outsider's point of view, it might sound a bit jarring, okay, because you're not thinking expressive yet. So once you are familiar with notes, this is where you start to think about how you want to express this. This line is supposed to be a very smooth line. Okay, even if I'm not using the pedal, okay, legs away, there's a way to play it smoothly. Okay, so if you use a good fingering, the right fingering, you should be able to, by now, as you are learning the piece, if it's correct, it should sound great once you start to put the expression in. Okay, and the next thing, balance. Balance is more for higher level playing. What do I mean by balance? I'm going to play you this phrase twice, and let's see if maybe people in the audience can hear what the difference is. I hope the audio quality isn't so bad. This is example one. And this is example two. Okay, so maybe just as some audience participation, let's see if anyone could hear the difference in it. Anyone?
Okay, so you can hear the difference between the two phrases played by Marc. You can just key in.
Okay, if not sure, I can always play it again. So this is the first one.
Okay, you play again. First one.
Second one.
Okay, I think there's a after you comment. The first one is like a lot more chords or something like that. A lot more heavier.
Yeah.
A bit heavier. Okay.
Something you are hearing it heavier?
Of course, I can hear it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is like oral exam issue. You want to make it away.
Oh, it's like spot the difference, right? Yeah. There's one component like that. I used to love it, it was quite fun. Yeah, number two is way better, right? So any idea like why it sounds better? Yeah. So Tansi is getting it. The right hand sounds more distinct in the second one. The first one's feeling I find is more jagged. The second one is smoother. Okay, and why it sounds like the right hand is more distinct is because I am putting all the emphasis on the top notes. So the top fingers are playing all the stuff, all the emphasis, and the rest of the notes below are just, left hand too heavy for first play melodies round out. Yeah, you guys got it. So you guys are pros. It's not like,
Wow.
yeah.
Seems like we have many musically trained years over here. Very good.
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
clearly.
So what this is what balance is like, and it's not
Mm.
easy. This is one of the harder things to train for musicians. I find that it's very very difficult for teachers to teach students how to play with balance. Okay, because whatever I just did, right? I'm using just on one hand, one finger more strength than the rest. Don't even talk about hand separate. Okay, so on one hand, I'm having different strengths on different fingers. So this is a very difficult thing to play around with. And I think when you first, if you take ABRSM exams, usually the pieces that are chosen, they will slowly make you work towards balance, where you have different weights per hand,
Mhm.
not per finger yet. What I just did is per finger. Okay, but you start off with using having more sound on one hand than the other. So that is pretty tough to achieve. So, but then again, these kind of things take practice. However, I figured it out. My teacher used to scold me so much about this. Like right hand louder, boy, your left hand is too loud. So one day I got so irritated by having the same by being scolded about the same thing so long, right? I decided to slam the right hand and barely play the left hand. So for some reason, in that frustration, I triggered something that I suddenly figured out how to I accidentally figured out how to play with two different balances. So, um, however way it works, I mean, I don't have a surefire way of solving this problem because psychomotor skills is different for everyone. So yeah, as a going back to topic, this is a higher level thing. Okay. Higher level. When I say higher level, I don't mean you must be a grade 7 and above kind of thing. Higher level means whichever song you play, even if you're a beginner, you're a grade 1 level. When you play a piece until it sounds so good, right? Or you think it sounds so good, there's always a way to make it better. And these ideas, balance and sounding nice, is something that newer learners can start to think about rather than just I've reached this level and I continue playing the same way. That's People can do better than that. I think people are learning music. If you're really interested to make it sound good, you can work towards this kind of idea.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let me do a quick poll. How many of you love Mark sharing so far on piano and his earlier childhood with a music teacher? If you love, you just uh type I love it.
Oh my God, my childhood is being judged right now. Okay, let me go back to the screen. The
Okay,
PowerPoint.
good. Wow, I'm also learning something here. So as we grow older, now we look back at what we do last time to our teachers. I think can be quite funny.
Yeah, looking back, I always think about how much headache I caused my
How
teacher.
rebellious you are also.
I wasn't that bad lah, but I had my moments.
Yeah, all of us have. Okay, that's on idea two. Very good. Thanks for
Yeah.
demonstration as well.
So just to cap it off, the
Mm.
last points, based on all these factors, right? You want to become autopilot for some of the factors, okay? And the easiest ones are always the notes and the rhythm. It takes time, but you cannot expect to learn it too fast, lah. Take your time with it. As you become autopilot, you start to think about other things. So yeah, this basically is idea number 2. Okay, so moving on. If not, it will take forever.
Mhm.
Metronome. Okay, this is a very interesting topic to talk about because I think some people might disagree with me. Okay, the first couple of things is that the metronome, the thing that goes tick tock tick tock, will help with your finger control. Okay, especially with fast pieces. Okay, it helps improve your stability. But however, it you need to learn a skill, right? And this skill is to learn how to play the metronome first. Okay? Almost every student I have, even myself, when I was a student, I hated a metronome. I think everybody will agree with me. It's this annoying thing that suddenly it's faster than you, and suddenly it's slower than you, and you feel like you're right, and the metronome is wrong. So I used to think that way, and I hated it so much. And this it took a long time for me to understand how to play along with it, how to accommodate to this annoying little instrument. Yeah, I know. So teachers love it, yes. I preach it, but my students hate it as well. And perhaps this is karma coming back to bite me lah. When I used to hate the metronome so much.
Now you're a teacher.
Yeah. So okay, and um, the thing is, it takes skill to play along with it and to anticipate this thing. But the thing is, once you get used to it, right, you can focus a lot on other factors already while keeping stable. So you are using the metronome to remove one factor, and the factor is tempo. If you're good at it, okay, so you remove tempo, you start to think about other things. Okay, and then the next 2 points, right? Point number 4. This is the very interesting one that I use to practice my difficult pieces. Practice with slow metronome increments. Okay, just now when you saw that I was showing you my score, and I showed that at the very top of the score was a metronome marking 110 to 132. Okay, what I used to do for this piece is that I would play about 2 pages of music at 110. So let me just give an example. So this is 100. This is what 110 sounds like. I guess you can hear it. So what I would do, right, is do this. Okay, and then.
Mark, you want to shift down your camera a bit?
Sorry.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait, sorry. That's not 110. No. Okay, this is 110. And once I'm done, right, I play through 2 pages plus 2. So now it's 112. Once I'm done with 2 pages plus 2, 114, 116, 118, all the way until it's 132. That means I would have played those 2 pages. Okay, my math is failing me now. 22 divided by 2. I would have played the 2 pages 11 times on a metronome. So what do I do when I do this, right? I focus a lot on notes. I focus a lot on especially when I'm slow, right? I listen very carefully to what the line sounds like. Is the melody nice? Is the bass too loud? Is the middle voices, whatever's in between, is it causing a lot of mayhem? Is it too short? Is it too heavy? Depending on the piece. Okay, so this is what I do. I take the time to observe the slow ones, and then as it gets faster, right, the fast ones practice the stability to run fast. So I'm solving a lot of issues, right, at the same time. It's just that the problem with this way of practicing, right, is what I call hardcore practice. So it takes a lot of patience. It's very, very tiring because you repeat things over and over and over again. And imagine playing like a sonata that's like 10, 12 minutes long, and you break it into like five different parts times 11 or 12 times each. By the time I finish playing one movement, right, I got no time for anything else. That's why I personally nicknamed this the hardcore practice. And you can't do this every day. If you do this every day, I guarantee you will hate music. Okay, do not do this every day. Do it on days that are good when you feel that you want to be productive. You need the grit to get through and sound great. If you are feeling motivated, then do it. Okay, but don't do for all the pieces. The difficult ones, the ones that require control, the ones that you think require the most work. I think this metronome practice is very effective, very time consuming, very tiring physically, mentally. It's basically the gym day where you're on an insanity workout. This is the hardcore metronome practice that I would usually do. Right? So it's kind of different from, different teachers teach the use of the metronome very differently. And some would say I mean, some would use this idea, but maybe not on such long pieces. And some would just say something like use a slower tempo. But perhaps if you're a student and you have teachers who've told you this before, maybe you might want to ask them more about what they do on their own pieces. I'm sure they would like to share. So this, like I said, this particular hardcore metronome practice is not for everyday use because it's very tiring. Okay, so consult your teachers because this is a very good way, but you need to do it properly. If you're doing it with wrong technique, wrong posture, you're crossing your legs when you're practicing this, chances are you're going to like hurt yourself or something. So be careful when you do it.
Awesome. Okay. Let me
Okay, so if you guys have any questions regarding metronome, I know this might be this is an idea, but it's a slightly controversial idea that not everybody might agree. Just feel free to comment on what you think about it. Okay, so moving on to the next idea, number 4. You might have heard this before too. Record yourself. Okay, I would say this is more for intermediate to advanced levels. Okay, firstly, when you record yourself, you are becoming a third party. Okay? You record your own playing, and then you're going to listen to yourself as an audience of yourself. Okay, so you'll be surprised at the new discoveries when you hear yourself as a third person. You're going to realize that, oh my gosh, I sound so terrible. Oh, I'm rushing this. I'm slowing down for that. I have so many wrong notes. Things that you probably never heard before. The dirty secrets are going to come out and they're going to spill all over into your ears when you replay your own music. Okay, so why do this to yourself? Because if you as an audience don't like what you sound, you obviously don't sound good, right? So if you really want to sound good, just not only to yourself, but in general to people. Okay, so not only yourself, but your friends, your family members who can enjoy what you're playing. It'll be a nice thing to record yourself play. Truly. Okay, and the advantage of that as well, looking at the second point, you can replay your annoying sounding recording as many times as you want. Okay, and from there, every time you replay something, right, replay the same song, you focus on different factors too. So now I'm mixing the previous point. You focus on the notes. Where do you have the wrong notes? The next time you replay it, you focus on the rhythm. Where do you have wrong rhythm? Next time you replay it, focus on the sound, tempo, we rushing, we dragging. So things like that. You can even, I would even call this practice, even though you're not physically on the keys, but you are really listening to improve how you want to sound like. Okay, so what is good about this thing in today's era of technology? You do not need expensive equipment. Unlike the past, a phone is good enough. Today's 4G, 5G phones are very, very good devices. If they can record even the bass frequencies, they actually pick it up very well these days. Okay, the only thing that you probably need is that when you play the sound back, I recommend that you use headphones like the one I'm using, or the in earbuds, the one that goes in the rubber, the soft rubber that goes in, so you can hear exactly all the frequencies of sound. Because if you play back the recording off the phone or maybe off your laptop speaker, the quality may not be there. It may sound very scratchy and sound very, very treble. Okay, so the problem with the technology is not the mic. The mic is fine. The problem with the technology is the speakers itself, that you want good sound coming out of it. That's if you want to listen. But anyway, these in earbuds are very easy to get, right? Well, at least I know whenever I buy like Samsung phone, I change the phone, they usually give a very nice standard issue in earbuds or earpiece. So that's pretty decent, and it's not bad at all. So yeah, I would say like it's not, you don't have to invest like the most expensive headphones and all that. It's okay. You just need at least something that has like something that covers the ear, or the rubber ones that go into your ear. Those are great. Right?
Okay, we have
So
a question. So
Good question.
Tan Chi asked, do you record video or just as the sound recording?
It depends. Sometimes I would record sound because I don't want to see myself. But if you want to focus on your posture, you want to take note of your maybe fingering or how you sit or how you look like as a stage presence, then perhaps video is good. If not, don't bother wasting your space on your phone. Video takes up a lot of space.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, Paul mentioned.
Yeah.
This is a very good point. When you record, right? You might want to put it up, Mark. When you record, sometimes try to have as little background noise if you can. So I know you can't control the birds that are screeching out there or the garbage truck that zooms past. Yes, but it's these kind of things can be helped. But if you can close the window, maybe switch on the con if it's a hot day, by all means go ahead. Okay, if you have no choice but to use a fan, okay, at least point the microphone away from the fan, or else you'll hear just wind and wasting your time.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm saying this because I've lately been doing lots of quite a few recordings. I did one for my recital, and honestly, right, I submitted my phone audio. I recorded using my phone, and I used the audio from the phone as my final recital recording. It was good enough. Wasn't the best, but it was decent. So it's fine. So if I can submit a phone recording and pass a master's program without getting scolded for the bad quality, it's fine. Okay, we have good technology these days. That's great.
That's good.
Yeah. Right then. Next, this is the last one, and I would say this is more for intermediate to advanced levels. Mental practice. What is this? Basically, mental practice is looking at your score. Instead of playing it, right, run the score in your head. Sing it to yourself in your head, the way you want it to sound. It means with all the expressions, how you express it. Don't just that doesn't work. Okay, that's just, I don't know, that's like singing a toilet standard, right? So in your head, I don't mean that you need to say it out loud, okay, but in your head, imagine what it sounds like. And I believe that because I'm someone who believes a lot in oral skills, like listening skills. Whatever you hear in your head, right, is actually very, very powerful. It's a very powerful tool that can make you improve as a musician very, very quickly. Make you very perceptive as a musician if you are listening to yourself and if you know how to do it. Okay, so what I mean by this, just for example, when I gave you the example of the piece I was playing just now. Da, 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 I can hum it like that, but I'm singing it out to you guys. But you can do the same thing in your head without actually saying it out loud. Okay, and these things, sometimes when you pay attention to such details, you realize like, hey, how come I sound so nice in my head, but I don't sound nice on piano? Because whatever you're doing on piano versus in your head is different. This is where you learn. This is where you realize, and this is where you apply and change. Right? So you don't really. Okay, I'm jumping to the last point. You don't really need your score all the time if you know your score well, or at least if you know most of the parts well. If you want to do this to fill your time, especially when you're traveling in an inconvenient place like on a bus, on a train, on a Grab, what's it called now? Is it Grab or Uber? Grab, on a Grab to work. You've got nothing to do rather than to just surf Facebook. You can think about these things. Okay, I found myself involuntarily doing this when I used to take the bus to and from school because I was bored, and the person beside me had very annoyingly loud earphones that are blasting music. So I wanted my own music, so I just sing to myself in my head. But I don't sing it out loud, so I don't sound like a weirdo. Right? So you can do it in your head, it's fine. Okay, so it's going back to the previous point, the second point, you will notice that sometimes where you need to run, especially maybe faster notes, right? The parts that get blurry in your head, right? You are just you're kind of saying that in your head, rather than a very clear sound. Chances are those are the problematic parts when you play as well. So it's
Wow.
something to think about. I never ever realized this until recently, within the last year. So it's an idea you guys can try. But if you're new to the instrument, whichever instrument you're playing, new to the point that like not about the instrument, like new as a musician, if you find that these singing thing in your head is very daunting, you do not know what to hear, it's okay. Okay, different people perceive at different levels, perceive sound and music at different levels. So you probably feel like that because you are not used to understanding, or you're not used to listening or humming out music very much, or you're not, or maybe throughout your younger days you never listened to very very much music. So maybe to you like everything sounds the same, or you feel like you're tone deaf, which I disagree. Tone deafness doesn't exist, but then you may feel that way. Okay, but that's because you haven't had a kind of you haven't developed a mental system in your head yet to understand these sounds. So if you feel that you fall within this category, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. Okay, like I said, uh, these kinds of skills can develop. You can take time to develop them. Maybe this is not for you at the moment. So give the other ideas a shot first if you find that this is too difficult. Okay, so these are my 5 ideas
Wow.
uh, of how you can play around in practice and make it a bit more efficient. Because if you do it well, you don't have to relearn things. You don't have to waste time um, unlearning or breaking a bad habit. So, like most of these points that I share are all based on these things that your piano teacher or music teacher has already told you about. Okay, so hopefully this is useful, and very big thank you for staying all the way. For most of you, wow, there's still a lot of people here. Thank you.
Wow,
I'm so
thank you
glad
so
that
much.
I'm entertaining enough for you to spend your Friday nights with me.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for preparing the notes for us. So for those of you who join us midway and you miss out some of the parts, some of the notes, don't worry. We'll be compiling the entire notes, and then we'll be sending out in the Happy Pianist Telegram channel. So if you would like to have the notes, we'll just you join the Telegram channel. Once Mark has compiled the notes, then we'll be sending out. So you can go back and refer and see which idea you can work on. So like Mark has shared some ideas you may have tried before, you are quite familiar. If that's good, then just continue. Then along the way, if you want to try out new practice style, practice methods, just come and try out a few here and there. If you're not very sure, you still can ask your teacher to guide you along, because I believe some of them your teachers already know. Okay, so if any questions, just feel free to key in your questions. We maybe take about 10 more minutes to answer any questions you have. So Mark has purposely have this entire Facebook Live session just on practice alone, just on practice. Okay, so you have been practicing for some.
Oh, what happened to Mark? Okay, something weird happened.
Hello? Okay, so I pressed something wrong.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you pressed something wrong. Okay.
Okay, then I disappear. Okay, so yeah, any question, just leave it there. Then Mark can answer for you.
Just to share what Mark has just mentioned about going to ask your teachers about these, or just to share with you personal experience as a teacher, right? Sometimes there are things that we teachers, I guess I can say for all the piano teachers who are watching this, sometimes there are things that you want to tell your student so much because they will benefit them, but you can't, or you don't want to tell them because the student is not really at the level to understand things yet, or telling them will make things a bit more confusing, or it may make the matter worse, even though it's a good idea. So not all ideas are great. So if you ask your teacher about this, I'm sure your teacher would love to talk to you more about these kinds of things. Okay, sometimes maybe they don't blurt out all these kinds of things because they don't want to sound too naggy, or they don't want to bombard you with too much information.
Oh yeah, Marc,
See?
maybe
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Okay, so so you are now a teacher yourself lah. Okay, so you're top big do you have any requirements of how much your student need to practice before they attend your lesson? Like, you know, let's say lessons are every week. Do you have a requirement for them to practice like or every day how much time to practice? You know, just to keep up with your progress.
I I don't have uh I don't have a very strict guideline for my students to practice. So I don't tell them like, you need to clock 1 hour a day. That's not really my teaching style. Well, because I kind of believe that. I mean, I understand that most of my students, they have a lot of things to do. Whether they're in school or they have their job keeps them so busy, and sometimes they even have trouble. Some of them even have trouble like even attending my lessons because they are just so packed with things, and yeah, so many commitments in there. So I don't want to make music learning an experience that like they are forced to do this and you have no choice, and to add on to their burdens. So I don't usually tell people that you must practice this amount of time, but I will usually tell them like depending on how busy they are. If they are someone who is very very busy, I'll tell them, perhaps if you can just do like half an hour every 2 days, right? This is just an example that I remember telling someone before. If you can do half an hour for 2 days, right? But you make sure you complete this so and so this particular scale, and it sounds like that, and you work towards your piece sounding like that. Half an hour enough already.
Wow.
Sometimes I tell them these kinds of things, but I will be quite specific about it lah. So I don't really believe in telling students very generic things like, hey, practice for 2 hours every day. It's very easy for us as educators to say, because you can just come out of our mouths like that, and it saves a lot of breath. Okay, but I think we got to be careful of what, the more underlying things the more underlying messages we send to them, because just telling them to practice 2 hours a day, maybe especially if you're telling younger kids, right, who are like 15 and below or something, and they're busy with school, they want to play games, they want to play with their phones and whatever. It's and telling them, phrasing it in such a way is going to give them the impression that, hey, music is so difficult. Music needs so much time. You're not phrasing it in a way that makes things interesting. You're not phrasing it in a way that helps them solve the problem. Just playing for 2 hours is just an instruction. I find that holds very, very little value, and it doesn't it doesn't solve anything. Because a student can just go home and be a zombie and just play stuff for 2 hours and fall asleep while playing. It's happened to me before, but like it's not useful. So it really, really depends on how they practice, which is why this is a topic for today. And I guess that's why a lot of people were asking me for the last session.
Okay, so let's say you talk about this like don't practice as a zombie, you practice until you really hate piano lah. So let's say you have a student, okay, maybe a new student who want to start learning from you, and previously this student has been practicing the wrong way, play the piano, play until very boring, it's not making any progress lah. That means this student really hate practicing, hate practicing. So right now you got a chance to advise him accordingly. What kind of words will you say? Okay, this I say it as a context of let's say piano teachers. Sometimes you encounter this kind of students. They learn from somewhere, or rather their parents force them to practice every day until they really hate all this lah. But they love playing the piano, so they hate practice, but they love playing the piano. So what kind of advice can you tell this kind of student? You cannot tell them don't practice. I cannot tell them. So how can you?
Of course. This is usually the more fun students to deal with, because if you are dealing with students who love the instrument but they're just lazy, right? All you need to do, right, is to just point out the very good musical qualities they have. But because they don't practice, right, they're only like that. So I wouldn't call it a guilt trip, but it's more on how you. This is not so much on making them practice. This is not so much on telling them how to practice. It's more of how you communicate with your student to help them see their own potential. Sometimes they are just lazy, right? Because I mean, you ask me to choose between practicing and Netflix. Obviously, I choose Netflix, right? Actually, I'll choose practicing, but that's just me. But if you choose, if you have a student like that, maybe they don't practice so much. Not only because they're lazy, maybe they just are like that because no one has told them of the strengths that they have before. No one has, a lot of us are in a society where it seems that the faults are the loudest points of criticisms rather than the good things. And perhaps maybe some students may have had experience with like people, relatives, or friends who have always thumbed them down or say, "Hey, your scales is so noisy. Don't play scales." People who may not understand the craft. They may have had interactions like that are quite detrimental to motivation. So perhaps the chances are these kinds of students may have never heard of the good things about their potential. And it's our jobs as educators to help them understand that we cannot only be sticking to a mindset that my job is to teach you, and there's that. Whether you're good or bad is you're good or bad. That doesn't develop the individual. That doesn't develop the compassionate side of what music can teach. Yeah,
Wow,
I hope that answers the question.
Powerful. Wow, very good, very good. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, you made a very good point that it's not just teaching and teaching for the sake of teaching. I think you're also building up a student confidence, become a good person itself. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So we are okay. I think it's about 1 hour 27 minutes. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday evening. I hope everyone have enjoyed this session so far. So we make it very interactive. So when Marc say want to talk about practice, so we got a keyboard for him to show us how to practice. So if you love what we are doing so far, you can give us a love shape. So a love shape in the chat box below so that we know you like whatever we shared so far. And you love future topics, any questions you want us to address, you want Marc to showcase another kind of performance or another topic that you are interested in, just key in the comments below. So if Marc has the time, okay, he got time to prepare the materials, we will get it on there. Sometimes if your question is too out of the world or not something that Marc is able to address, doesn't matter. We will go find somewhere, some teachers out there to address these questions for you. So as long that you are keen on to find out the answers, we will find out some teachers to share with you. Okay, so Marc, this is the second Facebook Live I've done with you so far. How do you think?
I think it's great. I just need to remember to have a water bottle beside me. I nearly forgot today.
Yeah, I got some idea. Some people told me this idea. I say, hey, why not we just do a live performance on Facebook Live lah? Some people tell me this lah. Okay, that means it's like the whole show is you performing lah. It's like watching a live concert. Like recently there's a May Day concert.
Yeah.
So if I do something like that lah, with you performing your repertoire to a Facebook Live audience I know you're using your own digital keyboard lah, not the Steinway, those kind of grand keyboard lah, but still doable lah.
Yeah, it's fine. I need to find pieces first. Yeah, I need to practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay,
but
so thanks
fine.
for all the ideas. Okay, so Tan Chi has a question on sight reading. Wow, this one is a very another big topic.
This is a headache.
It's a headache. Okay.
Rather, no teachers.
no musicians like not say don't like lah. Okay, I'm sure we all can sight read, but it's a struggle to learn at the start. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a struggle. It's like learning a new language. You have to recognize how to read notes. Okay, so sight reading can be a good topic to discuss. Maybe too big a topic, we can lower it down to simplify a bit. Yeah, Apple also say sight reading is a headache. Okay, just take note of any questions you have. All right.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
that could be the
so
next topic. Sure. Within the
okay,
coming
sight
weeks,
reading.
at least.
Wow. Okay.
Thanks, that's great.
Yeah. So just a quick update a bit. Okay, if you talk about so this Facebook Live is not really a live lesson. I would say lah. Okay, because I believe sight reading cannot be done just in a 1 hour. Then you watch video and you learn like that. But what Marc can do is to simplify the understanding for you. Maybe give you some practice tips and some, like I said, the ideas. So when at least you learn, you can take a few more steps forward and make your sight reading better. It'll be quite helpful. Okay, of course, if you want to challenge Marc, right, then maybe you key in a piece of song that you love to play. Then let him sight read on the spot for you. Wow. Okay lah. We
Sure.
don't do this kind of thing. I think at your level, maybe. I think at your level, sight read is not an issue lah. Or I mean, given that you played so many pieces, a wide range of repertoire, you still may struggle, kind of, but I think should be fine lah. That's the skill you have.
It's a different kind of struggle. It's the problem is still there, but the mindset is different. Yeah, still a problem.
Okay, it's good. Okay, thanks for the time over here. Okay, it's about 10 p.m. Thank you so much for being with us for about 1.5 hours. So if you are keen on the notes, okay, just join our Happy Pianist Telegram. You'll find out more about Marc. Very easy. Just go to his website at marcyeo.com, or you can WhatsApp him any more questions. So he's very friendly to talk to. Okay, I've known him for 4 years already. And the thing is, we want to do something like this for some time. So this month, since everyone's still at home, we are still doing live. Okay, so you're happy to get Marc here again. Okay, just send your questions, and enough questions, enough demand, we'll just get Marc to come back again. Okay, the 2 Marcs here will be on the show again. All right, so that's all, Marc. Okay, good to have you on the show. Okay,
yeah, thank you very much.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night. If you have anything you want to message me, just feel free. And thanks so much for spending such a long time with me today.
Thank you, Apple. I think last week I also see you. Very good. Thank you,
yeah,
Wilson.
Thanks, Apple. Thanks, Wilson, Tansi, Crystal, Andre, and everybody else. Yvonne, Paul. Thanks for joining me, fellow piano teacher.
Wow, good. Okay, we hope to have more musicians here. If you are keen on other topics, like let's say you are playing the guitar, or you want to talk about what, I don't know, violin, singing, just let us know. I find singing teachers for you. Marc, can you sing or not? Can I? Just now you hum a bit.
Hum. I'm not a singer. I'm a hummer.
Okay. Not bad. So you learn singing or any other topics, then you let us know. Okay, Marc, if for piano, I'll just get Marc to talk about piano stuff over here. Okay, so I'll end this broadcast. Hope to see you in the next session. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye everybody. Good night. Thanks for joining.